Hello and welcome to the Sweaty Startup. Today we're going to talk about starting and maintaining an extremely lean company. So money is your number one asset. It's the number one thing that can get you in trouble. Keeping it safe and treating it the right way is your key to success. So when you first start out, when you generate your business idea, when you're ready to get started, your hypothesis that there's a hole in the market for you is still just an educated guess. No matter how much research you've done, no matter how many competitors you've contacted, it's still just an educated guess. You still have to get out and prove it. So don't invest heavily and don't spend a bunch of money until you know the demand is there and you have the customers to prove it. So you can and you should build out your financial projections, a pro forma, which I have a sample right on sweatystartup.com. You should build out this month-to-month cash flow projections 100 different ways. But at the end of the day, you can never have a perfectly accurate forecast. You can't forecast because this is new. It's changing. Every day is different. There are thousands of variables. There is so much uncertainty in entrepreneurship. So early on, it's about putting together the tools necessary to offer a core version of your service as cost effectively as possible. So on my website, I also have a toolbox, which is episode 4 of this podcast. The show notes are right on my website. All the things that you can do in a cost-effective manner to get out to offer your service, what you can do to put that stuff in place. So continuing on here, the goal is low overhead and profitability. So first of all, you do have to cast a wide net initially when you start a business. I understand that. We always talk about specializing. We always talk about focus. We always talk about the 80-20 rule. But early on, you do have to cast a little bit of a wide net. And as your business grows, you will specialize. You are focusing on the customers that are the most profitable part of your business. You are reading the market signals. You're finding the underserved niches. You're finding where you're most profitable. You're finding the 20% of your customers that generate 80% of your profit, and you're focusing on those. You're starting to ignore everyone else. So this involves casting a wide net at first and compiling data. All right, so what you're doing is servicing customers, and you are tracking your time, your costs, your complaints, your refunds, and you are calculating profitability per type of customer. Okay, so when the data points to high margins on certain aspects of your service, focus on them. When the data points to headaches, refunds, low margins, ignore them or cut them out altogether if possible. So now we're going to talk about variable expenses. Keeping your expenses as variable as possible instead of fixed is the goal to a healthy company. So things change quickly. You specialize, you shift, things slow down. Maybe a seasonal aspect of your business or something unexpected happens. You need to be able to cut your costs on your command. That means keeping your costs variable and reducing fixed overhead. You can't change your mind and just stop paying on a 5-year office lease. You can't change your mind and stop paying on a 5-year or a 3-year leased vehicle. Okay, you can't change your mind and recoup costs on the brand new equipment you just financed. All right, so there's 2 types of people who you can never get out of paying every single month: the bank and your landlord. So in the early days, don't deal with either if you can help it. Now, I realize bank financing is a big part of business. I'm not saying that's not important, but early on, before you have a proven concept, keep your overhead low and don't get involved with banks and landlords because you can't change those costs. Things get tough, things slow down. God forbid you go out of business, you're on the hook for that stuff. So when you hire employees early on, you can be very upfront that if things get slow, the hours are going to change. Things might get cut back. Okay, so the goal is to avoid recurring costs that aren't flexible. Don't make long-term commitments or sign long contracts. A great story of this, and I'm sure you've heard it, is when Richard Branson started Virgin Airlines. He bought his airplanes from Boeing with a clause that said he could return them if his business struck hard times. Genius, right? He made that purchase, an airplane purchase, a variable expense. Brilliant. So moving on, it's about widening the gap between income and expenses. That's your profit, right? So I'm not suggesting you hold on to your money and refuse to spend it. You have to spend money to make money. You have to spend money to increase your income. Every hour that you pay an employee and every piece of equipment you buy creates a return. There's income. Every dollar you spend is an investment. It's about maximizing income and minimizing expenses. So you do everything you can to widen this gap as much as possible. Remember, this doesn't have to be right this minute. Maximizing income right now and widening that gap right now is not always the focus. Just the long-term goal of the business is to reduce overhead and grow profit. So with each significant investment, I advise you to ask the $1 million question, what I call the $1 million question. Is there a way for me to spend less money on this purchase and get the same return? Now I'm going to say that again. Is there a way for me to spend less money on this purchase and still get the same or similar return? Will a $5,000 cargo van accomplish the same thing as a $25,000 cargo van? Often the answer is yes. So I have a cargo van buying guide that shows you how to buy used Ford cargo vans online. It's really good, right on sweatystartup.com. So will a used pressure washer for $2,500 accomplish the same job as a $5,000 new pressure washer? Yeah, probably. Great. Now you have $2,500 to put towards marketing. Will a new lawnmower for $12,000 make me $6,000 more than the $6,000 used mower? It sure won't. It'll only increase my overhead and I'll have to eat more depreciation if I'm ever forced to sell it. So the math almost always points to buying used equipment. Now let's talk about the image fallacy. So many people think that you have to put off an image to attract talent and to attract clients and to attract customers. Well, I got news for you. You don't need a $50,000 car to get clients. You don't need a $2,000 suit in a business meeting to get respect. You don't need a shiny new Mercedes Sprinter van when you pull up to a customer's house to get respect or to get trust from those customers. You don't need an office with high ceilings and kegerators next to the ping pong table to get commitment and loyalty from your employees. You don't need to splurge and spend on entertainment and fancy restaurants for your employees to be committed to you. So customers are after value, they're after speed, they're after professionalism, they're after fairness. They don't care what your monthly payment is on the truck that shows up. Okay? Employees are after a voice and respect. We've talked about what employees are after in the workforce. They want to make a difference. They want you to care about them and how they feel at the end of the day. They want you to listen to their opinions. They don't care about how swanky your office is or your meals and entertainment budget. Okay? Purchase wisely. Now, I'm not suggesting you spend hours or days shopping in order to save a few dollars. Okay, be realistic here, but I'm suggesting you put effort into buying the big things right and make a habit of spending the money, the small money, buying the small things in a responsible way. Form good spending habits. Now, keep your hard expenses flexible so you can adjust and pivot and change without eating huge amounts of depreciation. Buy your vehicles and equipment used. Avoid splurging on meals and entertainment. We've talked about all this. Use Craigslist and eBay. Let other people eat the depreciation and buy perfectly good vehicles and equipment for pennies on the dollar. It is a great way to reduce your overhead and have a huge competitive advantage. Another big concept here is outsource your weaknesses. Someone who practices 1,000 kicks once is nowhere near as scary as someone who practices one kick 1,000 times. That's a Bruce Lee quote. I'll say it one more time. Someone who practices 1,000 kicks once is nowhere near as scary as someone who practices one kick 1,000 times. It's about getting really, really good at one thing. So if it isn't in your wheelhouse as a business, then don't focus your energy on it and don't take on a bunch of overhead to get it done. Get really, really good at what you do best and hire employees to get really good at what they do best and outsource the things that are not key and essential elements of your business. You can outsource the marketing sometimes. You can outsource the billing. You can outsource the payroll. You can outsource the admin work. You can outsource the compliance. You can outsource as many non-essential business tasks as possible so that you can focus. And there's a really big part of that is these are freelancers that you can hire. They're on a month-to-month contract. Month-to-month contracts are flexible. You can terminate them and take it on yourself if things get slow. You can get, it's not the same as hiring an employee and bringing on that overhead and needing to cover their payroll on a monthly basis no matter how things are going. So there's some things you shouldn't be in the dark about even if you outsource. Just a little disclaimer here. As a business owner, you need to be competent and knowledgeable about your accounting, about your projections, about your tax planning, and about your marketing. You need to know and understand all of that stuff even if you outsource it. You need to analyze the data within your business to calculate profitability and be aware of each service you offer. You need to be a great delegator and a communicator to your employees. You need to be driving and managing the training programs and overseeing the customer service even if you do outsource it. You need to be organized. You need to have a positive attitude and always work in quadrant 2. Outsource everything else. So you do need to be a jack of all trades somewhat. You need to be good at several things to be a business owner, but you need to be a master of some things. So a jack of all trade and a master of some. So another thing you can do to reduce overhead and stay lean is to market like a gorilla. We have a whole episode on this, but the big concept here is that you can get creative and get in front of your customers physically. Flyers, yard signs, sidewalk chalk, door-to-door, mailers. You can find your customers and you can get in front of them, and you have a huge advantage. AdWords, social media marketing, that stuff can have a great ROI. A lot of new companies don't have the ability to take that stuff on, and a lot of them don't have the budget to get it going. So the last thing here that I want to talk about is leaning out your life. Okay, yes, I know life is meant to be enjoyed. I'm not asking you to live a painstakingly frugal life forever. I love a nice restaurant as much as the next person does. But so with that said, if you are exactly where you want to be in life, this is not for you. Stop listening now. But if you're working towards a future goal, if you're trying to build something, if you're trying to change things, if you're trying to buck the 9 to 5, if you're trying to build a business, so you need to lean out your personal life. There is no ROI on lifestyle expenses. There's no future profit when you buy a nice car. There's no future profit on the expensive house. Yeah, you get a little bit of appreciation, but it doesn't anywhere near offset the massive amounts of debt service that you pay. There's no return when you get an expensive dinner. It's all overhead. It's all money that is gone, that you will never see again, and you will never be able to invest in your company. So keep that in mind. Run a family budget, okay? Find out how long you can live on cash from your company. Live without cash from your company. The longer, the better. The less cash you need, the better. Get your debt, get your expensive car, get them off of your life books so that you can live with less each month. You'll be in a much better position. So you're tied to your job right now because you need the money from your job to finance your lifestyle. You need to live. You need to pay the bills. If you're serious about leaving your job as soon as possible, it's time to get serious about leaning out your life. Remember, this is only in the near term. You are delaying gratification now so you can build the life you want and buck your 9 to 5 and do what you want to do later on a daily basis. Don't build expensive habits. Save money on a day-to-day basis so you can invest it in your future. So this is a very important concept here. Every dollar invested in your business will become $2 or $3 or $4 in the near future. Every dollar invested in everything else will either be gone or will be worth pennies on the dollar. Free up your capital so that it can work for you. Let me say that one more time. Every dollar invested in your business will become $2, $3, $4 in the near future. Every dollar invested in everything else in life will be either gone or worth pennies. So you need to free up your capital so that it can work for you. All right, so let's say you have a business. Let's say you have some momentum. Let's say you have some profit. I'm talking a little bit down the road here. Don't fall victim to lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is when your income rises and your expenses also rise. You become, you have more expensive taste. You spend more money when you make more money. It's a natural thing. So as your income rises, keep your expenses steady so that you have more gap between your expenses and your income, and then you have more money to invest. You can go after opportunities as they present themselves. When you see an opportunity or things get hard, you'll get a ton of pressure. You'll put a ton of pressure on your business if you're living an expensive lifestyle. When money's flying out the door in your personal life, it'll put some pressure on your business. Tighten that stuff down and stay lean. So if you stay lean in your business and in your life, a few amazing things will happen. Number one, you'll avoid unnecessary financial stress. Your quality of life will improve drastically. You'll have the peace of mind that comes with being able to ride out tough times or deal with uncertainty or deal with accidents or losses if they occur. Okay. Number two, if you aren't strapped for cash, you aren't forced to milk early customers and turn a profit right away. You can play the marshmallow game, you can delay profits, you can delay instant gratification to build a brand, to build a business. The longer you can go without pulling big money out of your customers, the more of a following you'll get, the more volume you can build. So you can learn a lot and your customers won't be as harsh on you early if you're charging a smaller price. If you're still learning a service, you can learn it and your customers will give you more rope if you're not trying to milk them and make a huge profit on what you're doing. So you can invest money in making speed your competitive advantage. You can front load your hiring, you can provide an on-demand service, and you can charge a higher price for that. I have a whole episode on that on this podcast called Don't Ever Compete on Price Again. So basically, you can make more investments in growth and marketing if you're leaner. When you find a marketing channel that you have the data to back up it being a great investment, you can double up or triple up your marketing spend. You can take risks like that to build your business. Instead of having that money tied up in a depreciating vehicle or a big office or a big fancy house that you don't need, you can have it ready to invest and pour fuel on the growth of your company. You can focus on adding value first. You can get out and offer discounted service or even free services to customers right away. You can use that to get a following, and you can use that as an ROI. So offering a free first-time service in subscription or recurring business models like lawn care, cleaning, mosquito treatments, and other things should be thought of as an investment. So say you are treating homes in Miami for mosquitoes, you know that only costs you time basically and a little bit of materials. You're making an investment. If you give customers a free service, it's a marketing investment. You are banking on them coming back to you and becoming paying customers later. So you can track your data and you can record how much is this free service costing you and how many of these customers end up converting into paying customers in the future. Then you can analyze the ROI. You can say, I'm spending this and I'm making this return. You can calculate your return and you can decide whether you like that or you don't like that. So basically, if you're paying big money on equipment, overhead, you're forced to milk your early customers. You're forced to live off your business, and you won't even have the option to have this mindset and to do these things that you can really do and win. So business is all about risk and reward. Staying lean really helps you manage your risk and reduce it drastically. So nothing is risk-free. You're always going to risk something, maybe time, maybe money, often both when you're starting a business. But running a lean business drastically reduces your risk. It makes your business more likely to survive. It limits financial losses if you do fail and end up doing something totally different. When the next recession happens, 50% of the businesses in your sector may fail. But if you are lean, you will survive. If your expenses are variable, you'll be able to reduce them and you'll be able to ride out the storm. You'll be poised and you'll be ready to ride the next boom and grow your business 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, so when things change, your business must be able to change. That's the whole point here with this lean concept. If you are lean and your expenses are flexible, you can change course at the drop of a hat. You're ready and able to chase new opportunities. You're able to specialize and turn down more customers than you accept. Entrepreneurship is fluid. It's always changing. Nothing is certain. New competitors arise. Technology changes. Government regulation changes. The only thing that these big, expensive things do, and this overhead does, is limit you. Okay? You have to stay lean so that your path can change, so that you can capitalize and you can build a healthy company that can survive the journey. So be frugal where it doesn't matter on the little things so that you can invest where it does matter on the big things, on the things that are going to make you money. So as always, thank you so much for listening. If you have a question for me, reach out, nick@sweatystartup.com. I would love some feedback on what I'm doing here. And if you have somebody in mind who you think might benefit from this, please share it with one person. That would really help me get the word out. And as always, thank you so much, and get out there and sweat.